Welcome to my podcast, Sack and Taff. And I've remembered to bring my book this morning, so that's good. Because I know last week it was like I left my book behind. What am I supposed to do? But because I've written the book, I sort of know what the book's about. You're probably thinking sort of. Now I know what the book's about, but I did want to start sort of like reading certain parts of the book to you. And so last week I didn't. So I reflected upon I think I covered some of my time where I went to the convent school for a bit, and then I moved on and went to the college. And that was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting to get that far, but it's good. So what I'm going to do is reflect back a bit on the time that I was at Rebecca in the book was at the convent school, and she's got basically she was put on a year below because she had more or less joined the school midterm or sort of further on in the year. So in order for her to be able to not be too far behind as regards to lessons concerning the exam, you know what I mean? Yeah, they put her a year below, which was fine. She was okay with that. She was okay with that. And it's got here, the classroom was completely full. This was the biggest class she had ever been in. Rebecca was placed at the front of the classroom where an additional desk was added to the end of the row. And on her left sat two pint-sized girls, whom she later learned were named Lisa and Karen. And they seemed to find her amusing. For reasons she could not understand. Their behaviour astounded her. The way in which they responded to her presence was similar to behaviour she had experienced within her peer group in the previous school. But I think what it is because she's just joined the class, although their behaviour she's basically comparing to her peer group, it's not bothering her as much emotionally because her peer group, she had been friends with them for a few years. So, it's like, it's completely different. Now I'm reading it, it's a bit different. It's not nice, but it's a bit different. Anyway, so her mind was in a turmoil, and the mornings became unbearable, embarrassing for her, unbearably embarrassing for her. Sister Andrews would call out each people's name, to which each girl would reply to make sure that everyone was present. So they used to, I can't remember what we used to say. Was it yes, miss, or yes, sister, or something like that? This was something that happened. I should have put it down. This was something that would happen that had not happened in her previous school, where the teacher would call out the names and then look up to see if the pupils were present. I'm sure they used to do that. Now, each and every pupil, yeah, that's it, they had to answer, yes, sister. And this made her feel infantile and out of place. Every time she responded politely to her name, Lisa and Karen would look at each other and giggle. And because Rebecca had just joined the class, her name was automatically placed at the bottom of the register, which meant she had to wait until the 29th name was called before having to answer. And I think the way I said it made me, because I was uncomfortable in saying it, and my voice is it's quite a sort of like a crackly, sort of like deep, sort of like voice. And so even at that age, it was quite crackly and a little bit, yeah, similar. So basically, so when it came to me, I had to go, yes, sister, but it didn't sound right, and I felt uncomfortable, which must have made it sound even like, worse, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So yeah, they found it funny. So it was not just Lisa and Karen who bugged her. The girls in the new class were less friendly even than the girls in her old school, and they were more snobbish than she expected. An exception was a girl with pretty auburn hair called Lena, who sat in the back row, of the same row that I sat in. So Rebecca noticed that the rest of the class were inclined to ignore her. Perhaps they disliked the colour of her hair. Noticing this negative behaviour during one particular break time, Rebecca decided to befriend her. And she approached Lena, who sat quietly at her desk reading a magazine. Rebecca decided to open a conversation. And if she found that Lena wanted to be left alone, she would be understanding and silently walk away. Yeah, so basically she asked her what she was reading and so on and so forth. She was reading a teenage magazine, and yeah, and it went on from there. From that moment, a friendship developed between the two girls, which is good. It's good, yeah. Who spent break times and lunch times together. They also went home together because they lived not far away from each other. At weekends, they often went ice skating at the local rink. That was in Streatham. I remember those days. This proved most enjoyable, and the fact that it took some time to get in on Saturday nights because of the enormous queues only added to the excitement. Once they gained admission, they would hire the boots and off they would go onto the ice to skate to the latest sounds played in the background. Yeah, so although Lena was treated as an outcast by some of the girls, she happened to be quite attractive. To enhance her looks even more, she wore a small amount of makeup, mascara and eyeliner principally, even sometimes to school. However, when they went out, she would put on a creamy lipstick and matching rouge. On occasions when Rebecca called for Lena, she would be invited into her bedroom and often watching her putting on her makeup. This process intrigued Rebecca as she admired the way Lena applied the makeup and the fresh appearance it gave her once she had finished. Rebecca decided to buy some makeup. Yeah, so for herself, to see if it would have the same effect on her. So she bought mascara, eyeliner and an inconspicuous light brown lipstick. She saw the difference straight away as the eyeliner brought out her bright sparkling eyes and the lipstick gave her lips a glossy appearance. And then one Friday evening, Rebecca was getting ready to meet Lena, and since they planned to see an X-rated film together, this seemed a good time to try out the new makeup in public. After putting on her favourite jeans and t-shirt, with a beige cardigan, she combed her hair out and then applied the makeup. Soon after, she went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Her mother was there and immediately noticed the change in her appearance. "You're wearing lipstick." "I know, I'm old enough to, aren't I?" And Mrs. Barracu said nothing. Neither did Bernice, who was also in the room, and Mary looked up to observe her younger sister. Lena and Rebecca had no problem getting into the film as makeup made them appear older. The film that they saw, it wasn't appropriate, it wasn't age appropriate. It was an 18, and we were only 15, but we got in, and yeah, and it's basically about two teenage boys discovering the facts of life for themselves, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so yeah, and then yeah, basically, yeah. And then on a later occasion, you'll have to read the book. You'll have to read it. I'm not going to tell you everything that I've written, otherwise it just spoils it, doesn't it? It does. Anyway, I'm reading it, not realising I'm also sort of like meant to be sharing with you as well. So forgive me for that. I was like getting quite indulged and I forgot, hang on a minute, I'm meant to be sharing it with you. So on a later occasion, Lena and Rebecca went to see another film. This time it happened to be a horror movie, which proved to be a bad idea because it left Rebecca in a dreadful state of mind. The film was far too shocking. The sight of people being what have you, it's just horrible. It wasn't a nice film. It wasn't at all. And then watching after what I've written, it's like, nah, it's not nice. And it was too much for Rebecca's young mind to absorb. Probably that's why it's for an 18 and not 15-year-old, And she found the whole film to be grotesque and evil. However, it was not until she got home and into bed that she realised just how scared she really was. At certain times during the night, she woke up shaking. The following morning, her sister told her that she had been saying how scared she was in her sleep. Rebecca also became petrified with her surroundings, uncertain what to expect at any given time. As soon as night fell, this feeling of terror and insecurity filled her mind, which would mysteriously play games with her, making her feel as though there was someone behind her as she washed her face, or that there was a stranger waiting for her as she opened the bathroom door. This continued for 3 whole weeks. 3 weeks. Until her sleeping pattern returned to normal. Rebecca swore that she would never watch such a movie again, and I haven't since then. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth going through all of that. Since then, no. It just was not worth it. So although there was some improvement in her social life, she was far less happy at school. For example, she began to find assembly emotionally tiresome. Every morning, each class would line up and into the assembly hall, and the head of their respective places. Prayers were first on the agenda and would be said by all the girls and by the teachers. And while Rebecca took part in the prayers, the girls in the 4th year seemed to ridicule her. She found this hard to believe because she was in the 3rd year, so it's the older girls, right? And then she would find this hard to believe. In fact, the situation was ironic. What she couldn't understand was, this was meant to be a school closely related to religion. They're there praying, and you got people ridiculing you in the back, at the back of you. And she couldn't understand the treatment she was receiving from some of the girls. It dismayed her, and she began to realise that the new life she had sought in this new school was no different from the old, bringing her a heartache, sheer disappointment, and most of all, distrust. Recently, there was a situation like that. I remember I went to a New Year's Eve service, and there were on New Year's Eve. I'm like, I'm geared out for New Year's Day. I really am, and meaning that I'm just like, it's amazing that I've got to the end of the year. It's this type of mindset, and it's like I'm ready to go for the new year come midnight, and I'm because it could be a battle, all the different things that you have to go through, right? So there were 2 young girls behind me, and they were taking the mickey behind me. It's like all these years later, but the way I deal with it is completely different. One, it's like they're only young girls, right? They were young. They must have been about 15, 16. I think about, if not 14, 15, maybe 16. And they were doing that behind my back. And you just get fed up of it. Because I've got red hair, and I must have been in a red dress, a red jacket, and it's got like, it's got a few boxes, like small boxes of blue and red or what have you, but red. But I must have taken the jacket off, so red hair, red dress, and some people find that amusing. It's like me, I'm just saying, to me, mentally, I'm making a statement. I'm going for it. I've got through the end of the year, and I want to start the year. And so anyway, we're in church, and they're doing that behind my back. And so when it comes to prayer, just before midnight, I turned around and said, there's no point praying, because it's like, how can you be making fun of someone and then you're going to start praying? Asking God for what? There's no point. If you're gonna stand there mocking someone and then you're gonna switch it and then start praying, doesn't really make sense. That's what I said, loud and clear, and nobody could say anything, because if you want to say anything, I'll tell you what the situation is, and they know that what I'm saying